Welcome to this presentation. What we will be doing is going through this to rearrange the equation to make h the subject. When you have things like this, what you need to consider is that this is an equation, so the equal sign is basically like a pair of scales. If we think of a pair of scales and it's perfectly balanced, this is the equal sign. If we do something to this side, we have to do it to this side too. Otherwise, if we put something here to make this side greater, you're going to end up like that. And mathematically, we cannot say it's equal anymore. So whatever we do this side of the equal sign, we also have to do to this side of the equal sign. So that's pretty basic stuff. When we get going on this, there's a couple of approaches because sometimes there's not really a right or wrong way of starting this, but you can either clear the brackets and multiply out the brackets, or you can clear this fraction. I would clear the fraction first because if you multiply out the brackets, you are going to want to get rid of this fraction at some point. And the issue is if you multiply this out, you're going to have a term, a term, a term and another term. You're going to have 4 terms, whereas at the moment if we multiply out this fraction, so we clear the fraction, you've got 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms. And to clear the fraction, as you know, we multiply every single term by t. So we are going to multiply this by t, we're going to multiply this by t, and you guessed it, that's also going to get a bit of t. And what that will give us is it will give us t2 squared. The brackets will stay the same. What will happen is this will become 2t. And if you have something at the top and the bottom, they cancel out. So that just becomes 2 plus t hr. That's our first step. The way that we need to do this is we need to get h on its own. And at the moment there's 2 h's, well potentially there's h's inside brackets and we've also got h's as part of this. So I would say the next step in simplifying this will be to multiply out these brackets. Now, multiplying out the brackets won't actually change the value because don't forget this is just factorized. It's simplified, it's put into brackets, so we don't need to touch this side because we're not actually changing the value of this whole term, we're just changing the way it looks. So to multiply it out, that will be t squared h minus t squared, and then we leave this as it is. The next step to solving this equation would be to see if we can collect any like terms, because at the moment we've got 4 terms, and if we can simplify this, it'd be great. But unfortunately, there's no like terms at the moment because we have a t squared h, there's no other t squared h's. We have a minus t squared, there's no other minus t squareds. There's an integer, and there's a thr. So we can't collect like terms at the moment. Our next thought should be we need to make h the subject. So a good move would be to get all of the terms containing h on the same side. How can we do that? Well, one of the other things that we need to consider is if we want to get in our next move all the h's onto the same side of the equal sign, then we need to really kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's get everything that isn't a h over the other side. I would say let's add to both sides t squared, because what that will do is it will move this over to here. So this will stay the same. We've still got the h. This becomes 0. It just cancels each other out. And then what we end up with is that. So we've done one thing. We've managed to get rid of a term because we've decided we want all the H's over this side. We've got rid of something that didn't contain a H. Now we need to get this bad boy over here. The easiest way to do that is to just minus THR from both sides. Really simple stuff. It's really simple. A lot of people, they overcomplicate things and they get overwhelmed when they look at something and they can't immediately see what to do. Let's just do a little bit at a time, because now what we've managed to do is we've managed to get all the terms with H's in over to one side, and there's nothing on this side that doesn't contain a H. So we're doing quite well. Some of you may have guessed our next step. We've managed to do the hard work. We have got all the H's over here and everything that doesn't contain a H over here. So what we can do now is to try to sort of merge this together. And because we've got two terms and they both contain a H, we can factorize, which means basically we can pull out the H's and it will just look like an expression with one H. What I'll do is I'll move up here slightly. And if we factorize, oh, that is terrible. That looks like an upside down U. Oh, that, believe me, that is a H. It just doesn't look like one. And what we have inside the brackets is a T squared minus TR. Blimey, anyone would say I wrote that left-handed. Perhaps I ought to have. And then, of course, that stays the same. All we've done there is we've looked at this and we said there's a term here and a term here with a H. Therefore, they both have H in common. Let's pull the H out and put it outside the brackets. Because if you multiply that back out, you will get this. So we've not changed the value of this, which means this can stay as it is. And as you can probably tell, we are one step away from having this solved. Because all we need to do now is we want to get rid of this. Because now this doesn't contain a H. If we can move it over here, we're done. Because we know that these questions are solved when you have H equals blah, blah, blah. All we need to do to get that is to divide both sides by what's in the brackets. Try not to comment because my handwriting is terrible. There we go. It takes a lot of concentration, you know. And as we know, because we've already dealt with a step like this, if you have something at the top and the bottom of a fraction, what happens is they just cancel each other out. And all that you're left with is H equals 2 plus T squared over T squared minus TR. This is the answer. How do we know it's the answer? Because there's only one H. If there was a H over here, then something's clearly gone wrong. It says H equals, and we have this. So that is the answer. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see some more videos, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.